Hello, and we are here again. Look, we are coming with the different whole setup.
Ball game.
Yeah. So, what we are looking at? There are many theories, and there are many contradicting theories that are put outside there. But at least this time we have one that is documented, and we're going to look at it. And this is our opinion. No one helped us. We are just observing and we are reviewing as we usually do. Now,
Yes.
as you know, when we review, we have questions and we try to arouse your mind and have you engaged. Now, Emily, I just want us to go at this step by step.
Yeah.
So, the first part, and you are going to tell us all about it. Before, please again subscribe and like our videos. And that's what we do here. We support and we always give you the best. Thumbs it up because that's all you can do here. There is no thumbs down. So, Emily, can you greet our people and let us take us through this whole process?
Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Mzansi Reality YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us yet again for another review. Now, we are reviewing the Senzo Meyiwa case documentary that is currently showing on Netflix. It is a 5-part documentary that delves deeper into the case, the many contradictions, and some of the information that we did not know or we did not have rights to. It's unraveling in this documentary, and it's very interesting.
Very.
It gives a picture of why this case is cold, and it's probably gonna be cold for quite some time. But if there's anything I can commend Netflix on is putting that together. They did an exceptional job. Guys, we haven't watched the whole series. This is the first episode review.
So our opinions are based on the first first episode,
Only on
and
the
we'll
first
grow
episode.
with it, obviously.
Yes. So we are going to start off with Kelly Khumalo's quote at the very beginning of the documentary. She's saying that she is a person who believes in her own truth. And she says that if you own your own truth, then no one can use it against you. And then now we are told about the night of the 26th of October 2014. We are introduced to this very first person, Shedrick Sibia, who was a former head of Hawks Gauteng at the time. Now, when he says, he narrated what was happening, and he says at the night that he arrived at the scene, there were many people outside and inside of the yard. And he says there, who he found, who was maybe a person of leadership, was a duty officer on standby at the time, as well as the MEC for public safety at the time.
Yeah.
And he says that they cleared the scene and interviewed the family as to what had happened. Now, people on the scene were saying that it was a robbery that went wrong. Now, a woman was interviewed just outside, and she had this to say. She said one of the men that tried to shoot Kelly one of the men was trying to shoot Kelly, and Senzo was trying to protect Kelly. And that's how he got shot from the back. So now we again are focusing on Sibia and what he had to say for himself on the documentary. And later on in the episode, he says that Mzilikazi, the investigative journalist, says that at the house there were police there. And then he says, as a journalist, we've got a source. And we have sources. So we beg our sources and we ask them to tell us what happened. And then Mzilika says he was fortunate enough to see the docket. And on the docket, a neighbor had said that he or she ordered people to clean the house because they did not want to see that Senzo Meyiwa was drinking, number one, and they also did not want to see Senzo's blood and didn't want people to see Senzo's blood. So Sibia then on says that when we arrived there, the evidence was trampled already. Okay, they did not find a bullet or an empty cartridge.
Okay.
So another person also comes in and says that Senzo's case was broken at the crime scene.
Okay, so that is how far Sbia has so far told
On
us
the episode.
On the episode. Now the questions. So first, I want to read the functions of hawks. First, I want you to understand what their duty is here.
Okay.
So according to our definition, they say hawks prevent and combat, investigate national priority offenses. In particular, serious organized crime, serious commercial crime, and serious corruption. So, that being said, on my side, I am now starting to question the order in which all this happens. I don't think from the word go, you could be able to get hawks to come here and do a job that is supposed to be done by police at the time. Because someone who has been shot, right?
Yes.
That becomes the crime of SAPS. Yes. So there was a detective there. So I have few questions. So the first question, so there's a first scenario, how the hawks could have been there, according to me. And obviously, I'm not that well informed. Anyone can jump in terms of
And share your comments in the section.
because I'm not on the
description
force.
below.
There are people who know better than me when it comes to this, but I'm just creating a scenario in my head based on the definitions and the bit of research that I've done. We have done in this. So the only probably the first way that the hawks could be on the scene
Yes.
is if the person who was supposedly the detective who was on standby is the one who went to the scene. And as a detective, obviously, you need to investigate. And after that, you realize that, okay, this has been tampered with. Now, I cannot be able to see any further based on maybe what I have and based on my learnings as a detective. So this is beyond me. This is of what you call national interest, public interest. Okay? And then what you do, you call your superiors and you tell them, I'm innocent, this is what I've found out so far. But based on that, I think we need more people who have more power and more better knowledge of how to deal with situations like this, which then would be, in my assumption, hawks, right?
Right.
And then your superior, because now they need to escalate. I would believe hawks are above the police at the time, the order of things. And feel free to correct me. So they would escalate that to hawks, and then they would get the hawks to come right through. I don't know how long it takes for that to happen, but based on the story, Mr. Sbia here was on the scene the very same day.
Yes.
Immediately,
As soon as
right
it
after
happened.
this happened.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's the first part. And if that happened, then we would need to know there was a process that was followed, and that process was registered accordingly. Because in any situation, for you to escalate, there must be procedures that you have followed, and those procedures must have been fulfilled fully before you even escalate to the next step. That's the first part.
There's a lot of red tape in police.
Yes. So now let us come to the second part.
Yeah.
The second part is one that is more of kind of a theory of how this could happen. Because my question is, what I'm questioning is, how did they find themselves on the scene just right away? Because a normal person passes away, be it an organized crime or whatsoever, it will be rare for you to see the hawks. For that thing to be declared a national
National crime. Or
national crime, yes.
Of national.
There are procedures, I think, that
Yes,
must be followed.
yes,
So
yes.
if the hawks were there right away, so what could have happened is, this is according to me, I'm looking at this whole thing.
The opinion of Mr. Anonymous.
Unless someone then decided to say, I've got a friend in the upper positions, if the detectives that was on the scene never called. Unless someone says, I've got friends on the upper positions. Someone of a third party. Someone who's might be affected by this, but maybe not directly so. Someone would call and say, okay, can you do me a favor? Go check what happened there. And then someone calls the Hawks, and then the Hawks go there. Because what other explanation, unless we're still going to see it, why were the Hawks there? That is my question.
And we're trying to make sense of that.
And on top of that, Spear is saying the evidence was already been trembled upon.
It was trembled upon.
So
was it trembled upon his arrival, or he found it like that?
So it might have been if find it like that. But as a person of law who knows the duties, then you should be able then to hold someone accountable, because you are there at the scene at the time. So this thing is still fresh. You can be able to find someone who did this thing. And I think it was not a secret, because if it was on the docket, then that means that person then declared it. So the question is, why was that person not arrested? That is the first part. Now, leave you thinking.
Yeah.
We're not judging anyone, but we're looking at it. Remember, we're not
in anyhow connected to these people. All these cases, disclaimer, their views and opinions expressed
those
right
are
now
ours.
Are ours as individuals and
they're
not
based
of
on
the
the
channel.
document. And they're based on the document. We are just reviewing the document. Okay. So that is what I want people to look at also. Maybe if we can get that clarity.
Yeah.
And then anyone who's got that information then can come forth and say, this is how this is done.
Leave a comment down below.
Yeah.
Senzo did an interview with Orlando Pirates, and he said that he joined the team in 2002. That's the year he went for trials with Orlando Pirates. He was just 14 years old at the time. He started playing as a striker, Elokshini. And he said that at the time they only had 5 minutes for trial. So in those 5 minutes, the people that were spotters, they needed to see what you had to offer. You had to show everything in that 5 minutes. Now, he says he survived the trials. Now, at the end of that interview, he says, it's something that was in me. I'm the best keeper in the world. And I was like, wow. Now, Robert Marawa, the night before Senzo passed away, Robert Marawa was actually one of the people, I think, commentating on the sports or spectating the sports. And he said that night, when Senzo, the last game that he played, he was playing the game of his life. Okay, he was playing the game of his life, and it was a match between Ajax Cape Town and Orlando Pirates, and Orlando Pirates won 3-0.
Yeah, it was one of the games that we obviously remember even today. When you think about Senzo Meyiwa, I think I always remember him with the Mamelodi Sundowns game and the Ajax Cape Town game. It was raining that day, and I remember the game was an end-to-end situation. We went in charge, but yes, we were dominating the game. The team was playing really well, but obviously that would not stop the other team from coming to our area. And when they did, they came in full force. So Senzo was putting a save after a save, and it was raining. The grass, there was even water under the where he was standing as a goalkeeper. That area, there's a bit of water.
So
the way it was pouring, it was pouring. It was not just a rain, it was pouring. So Senzo pulled many saves there. Some of them, they were kind of impossible. And I remember the one specifically that I remember was on the top corner where he pulled a save. It was a shot, and it was going right to the corner. And such normal goalkeepers don't stop such. It's only if we are in a form where you can be able to fly that high and stop a shot, a well-executed shot. So indeed, it was one of the best games that Senzo has played. because Senzo, I mean, was more bubble. He was lively. He was one of the people that, even when things are tough, you would see him. He was a captain in making. I know we had a lot of captains there, but at the time, I think it was Lakile Hwati, if I'm not mistaken, who was a captain. But Senzo had that captain mentality in him. So this is a game indeed that we remember. Cape Town was never an easy game for us. Never an easy game for us. Even if they come back now, it's one of those that
Rare.
there's a team that you always worry about, even if you are a big team. There's that team that comes with energy when they are playing against you. I guess Cape Town was one of those teams that we would worry if we play against. And we were playing at Orlando Stadium to make the matters worse. We were the host. And I remember the game was really very, very interesting.
Was he not the captain of Bafana Bafana at the time? I'm not sure.
He was the number one goalkeeper of Bafana Bafana. In terms of the captain, I cannot recall exactly, but at the time, he had played about 6 games, and
Yes.
Kune was there at the time.
Yes.
He took over. He was on the peak of his life. I mean, even Kune, because they were friends, would tell you that at the time, when you know Kaizer Chiefs goalkeepers, Emily, they are good with penalties. Dating from the days of Brian Baloyi,
Yes.
those were goalkeepers that we knew that it was difficult to score against when it's penalties. But Senzo changed that. Senzo became more dominant. He started being dominant in the open field, and then it went to penalties. Where I remember we went to play CAF, and you know in Africa it's rough. In Africa, first they don't want you to broadcast the game so that they do whatever that they want to do, and the pitch is not good. And on top of that, you have to play against referee. We're playing CAF. The referee gave, I think, about 2 or 3 penalties. Senzo stopped 2 of those penalties for us to progress. That's how informed he was. Under the circumstances where the referee was basically not honest, giving everything against Orlando Pirates. And if you play against those African teams like Inyimba, your Congolese teams, your Nigerian
Ghana.
teams, you must know that you are going to suffer. Well, when you come to South Africa, we treat them well. But when we go the other way, they treat us like, first of all, they give you a hotel that is far from the pitch on purpose so that you get in a pitch and you are tired. And they give you the pitch that is not comfortable for you. They have trained on the street. They move away from the comfortable one. They give you the one that is not comfortable. It's either artificial grass or the grass is not cut properly. There is a lot that that's why we struggled more to actually get into CAF and win CAF as South African teams. Now we obviously have teams like Sundowns who have balanced the teams and brought in players who are African players who are used to playing in those environments. That's why now they are dominating.
All right. Let's leave soccer now. Irene Meyiwa, Senzo's mother, says that they used to watch the game, and the day after they would always call Senzo. His father would always call Senzo and try to make him see the mistakes that he made and whatnot. You know, fathers.
Yeah, I think you are the best coach when you are watching on television, because you see on slow motions and where the mistake was and all that. And it's always good to actually to get advice fresh after the game, because you still remember everything vividly that happened.
Wow. So Senzo always wanted to play for Pirates. This is Irene now telling us he loved Pirates with all of his heart. Now, Senzo's mom also broke my heart when she cried and says, wow, after he passed, it was tough. He promised to buy me a bed, and he used to feed us. He wasn't one of those selfish people. Hey, guys. And now she broke my heart, and she says, today I'm alone. I'm crying and I'm alone. And I felt like, wow.
It has been a tough ride for Senzo's family, considering that the father, who was also fighting this battle, eventually passed away without even getting the answers of his son. So it has been one of the difficult journeys for that family, and indeed it makes sense to see the mother weeping and crying about all these events happening.
Wow. Now, there was a reporter outside who was reporting for a TV station. The reporter said that there were 3 men that came in, and it was fresh from the time period. So, Mzilikaziwa Africa, an investigative journalist, says that details now started to emerge. They needed to interview everyone that was in that house. And in that house, he found out that it was Kelly, Khumalo, and her 2 children, and Zandi Khumalo, who was Kelly Khumalo's sister, and Senzo's best friend, Dumelo Madlala, Longe Twala, who is Chico Twala's son. And Chico Twala is the producer of Kelly Khumalo's music at that time, and Kelly Khumalo's mother. So he said that Kelly Khumalo said something very touching to him at the time. Kelly Khumalo said, "He in my arms." Now, there is also an interview by investigators. It's Kelly Khumalo's voice. And on that voice, she said, "Senzo ran into my arms. I thought he was trying to protect me from these people until I realized that he had blood on his back and chest, only to find he was shot. We tried to take him to the hospital and we rushed." They played another snippet of Kelly Khumalo from a BET Presents interview in 2018 August, and Kelly Khumalo there says that she had never seen a gun before in her life. And I quote, "At some point I forgot my children. As soon as I came out of my senses, I remembered that I have children. In the house, I wanted to protect my children. I'm always that person who wants to protect and be there for people who need me. But in that particular time, I just had to be there for myself." End quote.
Right. So the first part is that Kelly Khumalo is saying that now Senzo ran to her arms.
Yes.
In that part, now it's no longer Senzo was trying to protect and jump into the gun. If I'm not mistaken, that's what I'm getting, because the narrative that we had in our mind and that we were told several times that Senzo jumped into the gun because he was trying to defend Kelly. But now Kelly is saying in one of these clips that Senzo ran into my arms. Now, how it moves from fighting someone head on and protecting someone into moving to someone's hands and being shot at the back, there is too much contradiction there. It does not make sense to me. That is the first part. Which really is worrying me now, because this is a story that is told by different people, and including allegedly, I would say Kelly has actually talked about it. So that part is not cleared. It has too many stories. Now, the second one that I would like to ask is, according to you, now I'm looking at how Kelly is as a person. According to you, when Kelly was in a relationship with Jub Jub, there was an incident that happened where Jub Jub went into jail because of the whole incident of kids. And did she stay with Jub Jub until the end? Did he see Jub Jub through to his case? And as a person who's very supportive and thinking about people that are around her all the time, and basically I'm getting the perception that she is selfless. Did she do that with Jub Jub?
Now, on this, guys, don't come for me. I'm going to give my own opinion according to the events as they were happening and as I was reading in the papers at the time. I have always followed media. So at the time, I was very heavy into magazines and I was very heavy into newspapers and stuff.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, Kelly Khumalo was hand in hand with Jub Jub during the trial.
Yeah, it was there for
She was very supportive. She was there even in the midst of backlash.
Yeah.
People were coming hard for Kelly. People were giving her this much backlash, allegedly at the time. And all of a sudden it stopped. Kelly
So
Khumalo
she didn't
stopped.
go through till the end.
No.
Okay. Then what happened?
And from what I remember her stopping to go to trial, and just in that same period, I remember seeing a reality show on ETV. I remember her writing her book. I remember a True Love magazine. I even bought it. I went to the store to buy that copy of the edition because the story was so hot at the time.
Is that the book that Jub Jub alleges that they started writing before he went to jail? They had already started writing the whole book.
Jub talked about it, yes. That's what he was talking about. There was a book. If you Google it, guys, it's there.
Okay.
So around this time, I saw a woman by the name of Melinda Ferguson. I saw Kelly Khumalo's manager at the time, Sarah Setlaelo. They were on a cleaning up campaign.
You would say
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I saw them extract the mess that was Jub at the time from Kelly Khumalo.
Okay.
So, and then on that True Love magazine edited copy that I had, there were allegations from Kelly Khumalo. And she was alleging that Jub was the one who introduced her to substances, and that Jub was physical with her in the relationship.
All right. So, now, what I want to establish here, was that is she what she portrays herself as? Remember, in the beginning of this, there was this clip where she said the truth is basically insinuating that the truth that is what you tell people.
She's a person who believes in her own truth.
And
if you own your own truth, no one can use it against you.
Okay. So she is saying that she is someone who she's actually portraying herself in this situation as someone who's selfless. But 2 counts, she became about herself. She was all about herself. In the issue of Jub, she needed that situation to fade away from her and focus in her life. Left Jub along the way and left Jub there. I would understand if left Jub after the whole process and then left Jub. Because obviously you can't wait for someone.
No, it was before Jub was convicted.
And then in the issue of this intruder coming in your house, you eventually ended up thinking about yourself, not your kids. So
she remembered that.
You remember the kids, but you took the decision to focus on yourself. So she is a person who's all about herself. According to me, that's what I see. This is my opinion, and this is what I'm observing. If you put these things together, she's not coming out as a person who's all about people around her and needing her. So, one thing again, why did she need to make it about people while she's showing the signs of she's not about people, she's about herself?
Because the statement, guys, let me read it again, because it was like, okay, and I quote, this is what she said. At some point, I forgot about my children. As soon as I came out of my senses, I remembered that I have children in the house. I wanted to protect my children. I'm always that person who wants to protect and be there for people who need me. But in that particular time, I just had to be there for myself.
So she's a person who wants to. She's not that person, or because wanting and doing is a two different things. That maybe she wants to be selfless, but she's not selfless. That is according to my opinion. That's what I saw.
Your opinion.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that's the part that I'm just going to look at, and I'm going to just let you continue on what we need to say more, maybe look at more, because remember we're looking at this thing together, and I want to.
It's the documentary.
It's a
guys.
documentary, and how I'm watching it and what I see. I'm just sharing with people what I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Senzo Meyiwa's brother, disclosed some information. He said that while he was in Johannesburg, or when he had to travel to make the funeral arrangements, someone who he'd rather not mention told him this piece of information. He said that on the night that Senzo was shot, he was hiding, he or she, he did not mention the person, he or she, that person was hiding. They had a bang, they were passing by Kelly Khumalo's home, they had a bang, and then they hid for 2 hours. Overlooking Kelly Khumalo's home at the time. And that person said that nobody ran out of the house.
Now, I understand that it might be that, let us say we take this one, but we are not going to take it because there is no face into it. But now, I want you to look at something else. For 2 hours, you had a bang. That means for 2 hours, someone could have been shot. Well, I understand you didn't see anyone. Maybe he jumped the neighbor. Let's just assume he jumped the neighbor on the right, because the house is actually surrounded by 3 neighbors. There is a neighbor behind the house, and left side and the right side. So there's only one way of exiting, which is the main gate. But then we can assume, therefore, that maybe someone jumped at the back and they went to neighbors, and neighbors unfortunately didn't hear. Okay, good, understand that. But let us say we take that person's point of view now. Now we want to look at the direction of people who were inside the house.
Okay.
For 2 hours, or roughly around 2 hours. Because, no one was watching, was holding time. Let us say roughly around 2 hours, someone was shot, and you stayed with that person for like 2 hours. Or let's say 1.5 hour. Just roughly.
A lot could have happened.
A lot could have happened at that time. Since Kelly was very serious about taking care of Senzo at the time, that she couldn't wait for an ambulance, would it mean that she waited for an ambulance up until that hour and then realized, oh, let me just drive a car and go there? Because someone is shot, there are cars, or 2 cars, I would assume, in the yard. I would drive that car to the hospital. Exactly, at max, if things are really bad, it's 5 minutes for me to get out, because someone is shot, someone's fighting for his life. Okay, well, let us see as the other maybe red flags.
Now I'm going to go to the activities that happened after the incident, and the very interesting person who comes here is a facial recognition expert, Amanda Steenkamp, a retired police officer in the facial identification unit. Now, she said that she asked to interview the witnesses individually because that's how she prefers. And she says the first witness was Kelly. She interviewed Kelly, and Kelly was able to help in compiling the features of the first person who entered the premises. And she said that Kelly pointed out the eyes and the narrow nose, the thin lips, as well as a medium-length dreadlocks and a hat. Zandi says that the hat fell off. That's how they were able to see the length of the dreadlocks. Now, a man was arrested. He had dreadlocks. His name was Mr. Mbata. He was pointed out at the identity parade. The police were sure that he was one of the suspects, and 3 weeks later he was released for information that was inconsistent with the facial recognition. Now, apparently the guy was washing Senzo's car. His name is Zamokuhle Mbata, and Dumelo says that he did not even know this Zamokuhle, because at the identity parade, it was himself, Kelly, and Kelly's mother, And he says that Kelly Khumalo's mother is the one who pointed out at Zamo.
There's one worrisome thing that I also would like to point out is, as this whole thing is happening, when those people came in, there was a Long Wetwal, Chico's son. When they are going to identify the person, why wasn't he there? Because you could also give a different perspective as a person. And on the drawing side with Stinker, why wasn't other people given the chance also to elaborate further on what they saw? Because it might be that you focused on the eyes and I focused on the neck, and there's a lot of things that can actually give into a clear picture.
I don't know.
So Kelly is the only one who
is the only one according to
Stinkum.
Ziligazi says that Kelly Khumalo's sister and mom knew this guy but failed to inform the police that they knew this guy. So the guy allegedly at the time was suing the South African police for 17 million for wrongful arrest. Amanda Steenkamp now comes in again. This is after they exonerate Uzamo. She says that she interviewed Kelly. This time when she interviewed Kelly Khumalo, she says Kelly was totally uninvolved with me. No eye contact. She said like this. This is what she said. She looked very tired and irritated. It was like, just get over it.
Okay.
As a policewoman, she realized that something is just fishy here. Her eyes talked a lot. My sixth sense told me that there's a story behind this story.
Yeah.
Something is wrong, end quote.
Well, we are not going to say a lot, but for someone who's assisting, sitting like that, not interested, disengaged, basically, that's to summarize the whole body language. Well, what do you think as a person, as you are on our comment? Now we have given you the review, we have taken you through this whole review. What do you think?
What do you think so far? I'm going to continue. Mzilikazi says that according to the statement that he was given to the police, he was given by the police, the alleged man that entered, now his description, the way they described him, and they are saying that in Zulu, these people, when they entered the house, this is what they said. They said, "Letana my cell phone, bring your cell phones." But none of their cell phones were taken. Only Kelly's phone was taken. And according to the police, the phone was switched off near a hostel in Vosloorus.
Now, that is the end. We are not going to give more commentary. We are going to give you a chance also to look into what is it that you might see that we didn't see according to this whole breakdown of commentary.
Please share your comments.
Please show your comment below and let us know. And for us, that is it. We will be looking at episode 2 and we hope that we will be finding a couple of answers that we have asked along the way. Probably the answers will be getting answered to those questions. And that is it from our side, guys. And subscribe and share our videos. As usual, we give you the best, and that's it.
That's it. And another disclaimer, this is not a personal attack on anybody, okay? We are doing commentary on a documentary.
And that's it.
That's it.
No one we hate. We know no one.
No.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.